Welcome! This is Unfolding, the show where I talk to creative business minds. My name is Marco Pfann, and today I'm talking to Ryan Honey, the co-founder of Bug and Residence. So we are back, and today we are talking to Ryan Honey from Bug, the co-founder of Bug. And we're actually not talking about Bug, we are talking about his new venture, which is Residence, where he's also the co-founder. And we want to dive a little deeper into what Residence is, why we need Residence. So I talked to Justin, it was almost a year ago in November last year when you started the whole journey, right?
Yep.
So for the part of the audience that still don't know what Residence is, would you give a quick introduction?
Sure. Residence is really a network of creative companies that spans the globe, and currently it is 9 different entities, and the companies in Residence, some of them are service-based companies that service the creative industry, and some are community-based companies that support the creative industry.
I mean, Bug is pretty much at the top of the game, at the top of the industry. Why do we need Residence? What's the difference to Bug and all the other companies out there?
So, over the past kind of 5 years, we've really shifted to a direct to brand model. It's about 85 to 90% of the work that Bug was doing. And with those relationships comes a lot of trust. Working with the same people, it's very different than agency model, which is sort of what we used to. That's the only way we worked with clients in the past. So with the trust, there becomes more asks. Can you take this off our plate? Can you take that off our plate? Can you add this to the project? And that just kept on happening and happening. And so we kept on building more sort of offerings within Bug. And at a certain point, we kind of looked around and said, well, we're also partnering with other companies, and but it's not like they're kind of top of mind for everything. And so it's maybe different teams would try out different companies, if say doing a website, or we need some more strategy muscle or something. But we really we thought, okay, is there a way to create more sort of synergy and trust by creating a network of companies? And so, what we did was we went out and borrowed some money from a bank, and for the purpose of buying companies, and we started to talk to people that we knew and trusted, and in many cases had worked together with on projects, and see if they would be interested in joining forces. And so, for us, what that has accomplished and what we now can offer to our clients is more of a broader offering to take on larger projects. And so for me, my hope with Residence is it creates opportunity for every company and every person in those companies that's part of it. And so that's sort of the promise for me is we're stronger together, and we can use our relationships, and every different company has their own relationships, use all those relationships to create more opportunity for the network.
So basically all the companies that are within the network now, you can cross-sell, right? If someone I'm not sure who else is in the company in the rest.
Yeah, so we're announcing the last company in 6 days or something.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who they are, but they're a web design and app development company out of Europe. And so the other companies that we have, so obviously there's Buck, and then there's VT Pro, which is a experience design company, and then there's Part and Sum, which is a strategy, data, analytics and media company. And then we've got the We've got Anyways, which is really more of a creative network of digital creators that we utilize to work on social campaigns for our clients. And then there's Creative Lives in Progress, which is our sort of DEIB focused nonprofit that is about creating diversity in the industry. And they are currently only in the UK, but we're working on getting them to have a US presence, North American presence, end of this year, next year. And then who am I missing? I'm missing It's Nice That, of course, which is a media company. And then we have a jobs board that's tied to It's Nice That called If You Could. So I believe that's all. Oh, and then there's, of course, Giant Ant, which is an animation company out of Vancouver.
So all like top studios, right off the gate. It's not like you brought any youngsters in. All top studios, all seasoned studios.
Yeah. I mean, the idea being that we don't want companies that we have to try to fix or try to get work for. They can survive on their own, and they've proven that they are successful companies. And in coming in, they're bringing their own relationships, and they're bringing a lot of talents, and that creates more opportunity.
So I mean, those are a lot of new different fields you're playing in right now, right? So how did the Chobs change compared to what you've done with animation in the past? Like, it seems to be like you have such a broader scope of deliverables you can actually, or services that you can offer now.
Yep.
How did it change the kind of chops and the budgets and stuff like that?
Right. I mean, it changes the conversation around like what it is that we can offer our clients. I think, in the past, there has been some opportunities that required certain things, like say if it's a branding opportunity, but they required or were looking for someone to be able to prototype for them. And as a part of the process, and then they would look at Buck and be like, well, you guys don't really do that. You don't have that. And now we can point to and say, actually, we do. We do have a trusted partner that's part of our networks that we work with on these types of things. So that creates, more opportunity there. I don't think that like necessarily, I mean, scope and budget does increase with obviously more asks on a project. But, we were doing some of this stuff already, but we just weren't officially attached to our partners.
Okay, gotcha. So it's like you're building a better communication system. Also, like you get trusted, you know each other, you know how to communicate, you know how to play together. And by that, you also mitigate friction and to minimize the risk for a client, obviously.
And we also have a certain level of integration too. And that's something I didn't mention before, but, we have sort of a global team that is across HR and finance and obviously IT and technology. And so the idea there is that we also, depending on the company and their needs, we're able to bring them into our systems and take some of that, difficulty for founders off their plate, and so they can really focus on the work and their clients.
So what's interesting to me from my perspective as a consultant or coach, a lot of gurus out there tell you to niche down, right? To focus on one specific thing that you actually offer, like animation, and you're actually going the opposite way. How did that happen?
Well, it was already happening before because, our clients would ask us to do more. If that's like, we started in animation, but when a client comes to you and says like, we love this thing you did over here, but hey, can you do live action? Or hey, can you vision this product for the future? Or can you develop this interactive experience or prototype an app for my product? All of those things, were already happening, and we were, kind of hiring in as we needed, using freelancers. We were, sort of also improving our own skills and learning. But at a certain point, we figured like in order to do this all properly, we need real experts in each of these fields. And why, go about trying to hire them in when we can bring in, people who are not only great, thinkers, but also are entrepreneurs that create opportunity. So
true. And what about the synergies that this creates, right? Like you have like top expertise, experts from all fields now. Do you run something like a lab, or you? I assume that clients want you to innovate stuff too. Is that correct?
They want us to what? Sorry,
like create innovative ways of attracting maybe clients or audiences, or
so maybe a great example of that would be TV came to us recently and asked, I think they approached Buck about how their product could, what's visioning for their product using artificial intelligence. And so like, how could AI affect their product and what would it look like down, in 2 to 5 years? And so we put together a team of experts from all the different companies, and we also brought some people from the outside as well, who were experts, and went and did a workshop with them. So consulting around their product. So that's like a good example of how that stuff can work. Currently we don't really like advertise as residents. It's a network of companies that have their own brands. And so, but when we come together to solve problems, we still call ourselves the separate entities, but residence is our umbrella.
It's like the family, is it?
Yeah.
So what's the future of that family? Like, do you have plans? Do you have ideas, a vision? I'm sure you have something.
I mean, we're working on it. It's a work in progress. I think part of it is, there's constant change in our industry, in marketing in general, in entertainment, in content, and we want to be flexible to be successful for everybody. And we want this idea of like creative excellence and culture of creativity to live, beyond us as founders. And so in the end, it's going to have a few iterations, I think is what I'm trying to get to, depending on, how successful we are with creating this opportunity across the network. We've been doing this now for just over a year. So VT Pro joined in June of last year, and then everyone else came in like December, and then we're adding partners. We added Part and Sum this year, and then the new one that's coming in very soon. And so, the idea was, let's prove out the model first. Let's integrate to the levels that we want to, get our systems down. And then also, everyone is very smart and very capable. So we're working it out together. It's not like I'm going to tell you how to run your business. I'm not going to tell you what you're going to become. We are working on collaborating on what the future of our companies are and what the future of residence is.
Sounds like fun. Like, as a creative, it sounds like being in one of those companies is like, it's quite empowering, right? It feels like, as you said, you talked about the culture before. Now you have a way bigger network. You have different companies. You have access to different people. Pretty much on speed dial. How does that affect the culture? You have been running this more or less for a year now. So did you see any changes in the culture and the way people work, and what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, as far as how we work, it's like we have some, we just opened a new office in downtown Los Angeles that's quite large. And there are some remote employees from other companies that live in Los Angeles, but they don't have an office here. So now they can come use our office. And it's, we have residents on the door. And if people come to town, it's, the resident's office is their office. And we set it up so it's all hot desks and you can just reserve a desk and come in and get down. And so, as far as like, that's, the how we work, I guess. But then there's also the inspiration. And seeing what other people are doing from an innovation standpoint, see how other people are thinking about things. And we hold quarterly residence meetings. Everybody who works in the companies joins, and we talk about the work that we're doing and the collaborations. And we have AI workshops where we all come together and show the various like projects we've been doing. So yeah, I mean, I think the inspiration is a big part of it. I think the community side is also very interesting. We just brought Nicer Tuesdays to New York for the first time. That's a creative speaking series that they've been doing for a long time in London, and we're doing it again, I think, in November at a different venue. But we're, that stuff that's all about inspiring people. That's all about giving back to and supporting the creative community. And I think that's sort of where what's most exciting to me is, as a creative, really doubling down on the people. And like, how do we make something that has enough like gravitas where we can support creatives in their endeavors and their aspirations, not only because they're our community, but because it creates better work when people are inspired, when people are always learning, and I think that gives more value not only to our clients, but I think back to the world at large.
It's true. Like we, as creatives, it's like usually you stick to what you know, right? You stick to the emotional animation industry. You usually don't really look into UI, UX stuff. I can like, especially these days where everything comes together more. I can really see the synergies with that, and especially if you have like big companies like yours, where all the experts actually want to work at. It's not you actually have access to the best people in the world. I really think that could be. I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen, how this all develops, what's going to come out in like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So a question that just comes up in my mind again is, what else, like what kind of companies would you still like to integrate? What's missing?
Yeah, so this is a lot of the work that I do is, market research and then talking to the founders, getting to know people. I mean, for us, the big thing is we have to lead with values, right? Like, we don't want anyone coming in that doesn't see eye to eye with us around values, and the values are about the people and the quality of the output. Right? And so that's sort of the first step. Thankfully, we're in an industry where most companies support that. But so start there. But digital innovation, I think, is super interesting for us. Talking to a lot of innovation companies, not only because you sort of start up the chain and you can be involved in developing the products as well as potentially the marketing of the products, and we have done a bit of that work, but we want to expand on that. As I mentioned before, sort of the website app and development work that sort of there's that piece of it we've just added, and we're excited about expanding upon that. So we may be looking at companies too that are more footprint based or talent based, right? So it's like we already have a company that does this one thing, but they do it in this market, or they do it, or they want to expand over here. And so instead of instead of like trying to just grow them organically, maybe there's another play to bring somebody else in that either could have complementary skills or have like access to a bigger talent pool and or clients. So there's a bit of that thinking going on as well. music and sound design, I think, is one that we're very excited about. It plays a lot into sort of all of the different areas. If it's experiential or branding or motion branding, obviously storytelling as well. That really factors in. So that's an area that we're excited about. What else are we thinking about these days? I mean, there's like social content creation, and we have anyways that does that in a certain way, but they are a little more like on the RD design side versus like the more like creator side, live action, I suppose. So there's that area that we're looking into as well. What else are we looking into? I think those are the big ones that are very interesting to us right now. And we're having lots of conversations. I mean, this year, as you probably know, not the best year for growth in companies. And so
not really.
Not really,
worst time in the history of the creative industry, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of waiting for this year to stabilize, and it seems like 2024 is going to be where we get to go back and growing our businesses. So and that's going to be an easy conversation. So,
That's a good news. That's good. That's an amazing, how do you call this, like outlook in the future. I think people will love that. Everyone is waiting for the bull market. So when you talk about digital innovation, are you actually talking about strategy, I assume, right? Is that like digital, like?
No, it's digital innovation. When we have the strategy piece, right? Digital innovation is more about working with clients to figure out what their products are going to be in the future, like what product they should be making, how they're going to work. It also is about solving like certain problems. I mean, in many there's many different areas of innovation, and there's tons of companies that do it. We're really looking for someone who focuses on design thinking and using very creative and interesting ways to solve these problems, and are thinking about all of those pieces similarly. For us, it's kind of a way to protect yourself from, or let's say, future-proof yourself, right? Like if you're bringing in all of these people who all they do every day is be innovative, and are thinking about technology and how to use it to make cool things. That's a huge value add for a network that and for a network that is in a society that is adopting technology quicker and quicker every year. So
let's quickly talk about this the speed of innovation here. I mean, you have been in the game for quite some time now. What did you like? Where do you see the whole trend, the whole future, especially with AI? Where do you see this going? Like, do you have any big hypothesis?
I mean, I think I'm going to take the positive angle on this because I don't want to take the negative, but I think there is going to be we're going to come back to the human aspect of being creative. We're going to explore the digital aspect of it, but I think, when it comes down to it, everything will just start looking the same, and even if it is like generative, and people are wearing things on their heads or got things in their eyes, and everything is generated for them specifically. I think there's still going to be a need for creativity and for the human side of creativity. I think it would be a really sad world if we took away the ability for people to be creative. I think that would be That would be the end. In mind.
Yeah, it would be a sad world at least. So I've been long enough in the industry to been through the change from analog to digital. And back in the days, people also said, and I kind of see it in a slightly similar way. People said like all the jobs will be gone, no one will need film anymore, and in reality, as we all know, like the jobs exploded. Like there's so many more jobs, so many more new services, needs out there. Could you imagine that something like that? Also, we can't really imagine that now, but something like that could happen.
Something like, oh wait,
Like actually, could you imagine that the whole AI stuff and the whole like innovation, like actually is creating more opportunities and more jobs for more people than the opposite, what everything is fearing?
yeah. I mean, what we do and the output we make, there's always going to be a demand for that, and it's my partner always says there's always going to be screens, right? And there's just going to be more and more screens. And
True.
so,
That's true.
I think we'll find ways to use it to increase productivity, but we just got to be careful to not lose, the spark, I guess, that makes it interesting. So yeah, I think we'll use it, but and it will make things go faster. We're already doing it. It's like getting on the same page with clients about like what it is that they're looking for. Like if they can do a prompt or you can do a prompt and just like huck images at each other, be like something like this, like that. And I think that can and already is creating better work because you get better communication.
Better, yeah, faster communication, right? It's like not that much guesswork, and people can actually. I mean, if clients are involved and doing some prompts and they can send you some pictures, they're already happy.
Yeah.
Challenging question. What would be the perfect RFP for residents?
I mean, I think we have like a dream scenario thing that we sort of point to, like if everything were to work out, this is the kind of projects that we would like to see from beginning to end, and that's sort of like, let's just say, I'm not going to name a brand, but let's say someone wants to create a shoe that uses a new type of technology, let's just say, and they come to residents, and we work with them on strategy, we work with them on innovative design, we work with them even potentially on innovative production methods, and then from there, we are, taking every step of the process from the research and the analytics for the customers. We're doing, in-store displays and experiences around the product, and then we're, creating the website or contributing to it or whatever it may be, and then launching the product. And being like sort of end to end in that way. So like everything from helping develop it to bringing it to market.
That's an amazing promise for any client out there, for any big brand, right? It's like they don't have to manage, they don't have to translate from vendor to vendor. They just have you do all the thing, you actually work together. They just sit back, lay back, relax.
I was just going to say that, I mean, it's, all clients are different and they have different needs for different projects. I think, that example is just to show like all of the different things that we could touch, and, how we could, if we want to go out into the marketplace and like educate brands that we can be the makers, and we're a great option. We're not going to be a cheap option, but we're a great option because we foster creativity. And a lot of brands if you make shoes or you are a technology company, they're not necessarily about fostering creativity, right? It's not their main focus. Their main focus is either creating and selling this object that they make in a different country, or they're looking for what's that next product that's going to make our stock price bounce back. And so tapping into purely creative minds and more doers and thinkers that are supported both culturally and from a, I guess, creative stimulation side, will, I think, add value tremendously.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of like, if you think about all the intersections you create now, which literally don't exist until now. Like, no animation studio knows how to do web design and vice versa. I mean, there are a lot of blind spots between those areas, right? And you fill them in now. That could create some really interesting opportunities for the future, like how we interact with websites, even, right? Or this, like, more animation, or even how we interact with videos. Is there interactive videos, like where there used to be interactive books, now we have interactive videos, things like that.
A good example of that is on the branding side, because brands, their brands have to move, right? I mean, it's like, that is these days, brands don't go to like a shop and say, "Oh, I just want my static logo and a financial prospectus or something." They needed to move, and so that's where we've been able to grow branding for ourselves, is because we look at everything as animators, right? And how's this going to move? How is it going to be applied to this and to that and to this? And it seems like when you're designing with that in mind, it's more successful than, say, we've had this happen where they will design it somewhere else and come to us and be like, "Okay, make it move." And you're like, "Well, that's not really made to move."
I think coming from the same space, I think so too. Like, the brand needs to be created by an animator, especially if you want to have a lively brand, if you want to have fun brand, something like that. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yes. So, are you traveling a lot now? You have to go to all those companies?
Not. I mean, I was at the beginning of, or the end of last year, and then just sort of when things cooled off a little bit, I've been holding down the fort here in Los Angeles. But I am going to Mexico City tomorrow to go to the Soda conference.
Oh, nice.
Which is, to go meet all of the founders and sort of the leaders of those companies. So that'd be fun.
Will you have a talk?
No, I am not. I'm participating in some stuff that's more like M&A focused, but we just joined earlier this year, so maybe next year.
Right. So, I have one more fun question for you, or actually for me. Not sure if it's fun for you. What would be a message that you could give to the creative community?
I mean, I think it's, and I don't even know if I need to say this message, but I think we need to, going forward, think about how we can support each other, and how we can maintain creative culture. And what I mean by that is, like, people get into this industry because they love what they do, and then no one's really turned 60 yet, but like, what's the options for retirement? What are the
Yeah, no.
what are the yeah I mean, how do we create come together as a community to support each other for being able to raise families and buy homes and do all that, what we call like sustainable creative culture. How can we, continue to educate our clients and educate brands about the value that we bring and how to and figure out how to make it so we can all enjoy our lives and our work.
So the message is enjoy life and work, not just the work, which is a great thing, right? I mean, the older you get, the more the more you value the time outside the studio with the family. Right. And I see so many people, so many of my clients, I don't have that option because they're still hustling every day, and they never made that conscious decision to balance it out in some way. Yeah.
And I think, it's part of this is about making sure we don't cheapen what we make. We don't devalue it for our clients. And I guess that's part of the message too, is like, we have to champion the value that it brings and the people that do the work, so that clients aren't coming with expectations that it'll be done in 3 days and they'll pay next to nothing.
Yeah.
And you see it from people, like they get desperate and they do things that they shouldn't do, and that doesn't help the community, doesn't help fellow artists, or
doesn't even help the people that take on those jobs. Because
exactly.
But it's tempting. I get it. Like if your back is against the wall and someone comes with a low price, what do you want to do? Right? It's like, and I think it's right what you said. Like, we need to create this awareness. We need to communicate a lot. We need to talk to each other. We need to support each other to actually it's more a mental challenge than it's really a financial challenge. Support each other, that we actually trust in ourselves, so we can make those difficult decisions and don't take on those jobs. That's true.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, amazing. That the soda thing is interesting. Since I joined, they've done a lot of work. They do a lot of work in that area of like helping each other with information. They do a lot of surveys and stuff, so people can understand like where the economy is going and where the salary expectations are at today, et cetera. So I think more of that would be great.
More of that, that's true. Like more transparency, right? It's like no one really knows what the other one is doing, and then always when clients come to me, the first thing they ask is, what are the numbers from the other people? How do they compare to us? Things like that. What's their profit? What's things like that, right? So we don't actually know anything about the industry.
Yeah, and I think what I have found in the past is when I became friends with other studio owners, it's like we'll get people come in and say like, okay, we're want you to pitch on this job, and I say, who else is pitching? And they're like, well, we can only tell you there's 2 other companies, and then we'll go talk to another studio owner and be like, what's going on here? Are you working on this thing? And they'll be like, oh yeah. Well, but there's like 6 companies pitching on it, and then you're like, oh god, So it's that. I think that we could do more of that to help each other and keep people accountable in the industry as well.
True. Keep people accountable. That's a big thing too, right? It's like actually create some values within the industry, some standards, something like a code of honor. How do you call this? Something like that. Yeah.
A code of conduct. Yeah.
Code of conduct. Thank you.
And the other thing I think I would say too is like there are inequalities across the world, as far as like what people get paid and what kind of benefits there are and all of those things. And if there is a way, we talk about, the goal here is to raise all ships, right? And so it's, now that we're in a world where you can work remotely, you can work on a different time zone, and some countries have small populations, and they don't have a lot of money to spend on, or brands don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing to a small population. And so bringing in, more interesting work with bigger budgets and sharing it around the world potentially will what we said, raise the ships.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fantastic outlook. That's amazing. Ryan, thanks for your time. I really appreciated this talk. And yeah, I wish you a good trip down to Mexico and hope to see you again soon.
All right, Marco. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Marco Fun, and I hope to see you all again on our next show where we unfold creative business minds.